The Galaxy Council had been working for centuries to create peace across the universe. Their mission was clear: to bring all the intelligent species together and form a united front. The Council had many successful meetings with species from other planets, and they had solved countless conflicts. But none of them had ever faced a challenge like humanity. Earth's inhabitants were different. They were stubborn, proud, and always suspicious of outsiders. Commander Ethan Rhodes and Ambassador Clara Brooks were the latest representatives sent to Earth. Their mission was clear: to open negotiations with Earth's leaders and form a peaceful alliance. The Galactic Unity believed that if humanity could be convinced to join them, it would be a major victory for peace. But they didn't know how hard it would be to deal with humans. Ethan and Clara had prepared for their mission for months. They studied Earth's history, politics, and culture. They learned about Earth's many nations, each with its own history of conflict and pride. They knew that humans had long been divided, but they also knew that they had a fierce determination to protect their way of life. Even though humans had only recently developed space travel, they were proud of their achievements and wanted to control their own destiny. The moment Ethan and Clara landed on Earth, they were met with suspicion. Their ship, a sleek and powerful vessel from the Galactic Unity, hovered above the planet as it entered Earth's atmosphere. The sight of the ship immediately caused panic among the Earth's governments. News of their arrival spread quickly. Military forces were put on high alert. Earth's leaders feared that the alien visitors might have come to invade. They were not ready to trust anyone, especially not a powerful spacefaring species. As Ethan and Clara stepped off the ship, they were greeted by a small group of Earth officials. The atmosphere was tense. The officials, led by President Jack Hamilton, made it clear that they were not interested in talking about peace. President Hamilton had been briefed on the mission, but he had made it clear that Earth would not give up its independence for anyone. "We appreciate your visit," President Hamilton said, his voice cold. "But we don't need your help. We've handled things on our own for centuries. We don't need aliens telling us how to live our lives." Clara stepped forward, trying to remain calm. She understood that humans were protective of their world, but she had hoped for a better reception. "President Hamilton, we come in peace," she said. "We offer knowledge, resources, and a chance to join a greater community of intelligent beings. The Galactic Unity has no interest in controlling Earth. We only wish to help." But her words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The humans weren't interested in her promises. They saw the Galactic Unity as a threat, not an ally. They had heard rumors of other species being enslaved by the Council and feared that the same fate would await them if they agreed to any kind of alliance. General Scott Hudson, a high-ranking military officer who had accompanied the president, stepped forward. He looked Ethan and Clara up and down with a suspicious gaze. "I don't trust you," he said bluntly. "And I don't trust anything that comes from your so-called unity. We don't need anyone's help. We can defend ourselves." Ethan tried to remain calm. He understood that humans were scared, but their refusal to even consider peace was frustrating. "We're not here to take over your world, General," he said. "We simply want to offer assistance. We can help you avoid the mistakes other civilizations have made. The galaxy is vast, and there are dangers out there that you can't yet comprehend." But his words didn't seem to reach anyone. President Hamilton shook his head, his face hardening. "We don't need help. We can handle our own problems. We've been doing it for centuries. This is our world, and we intend to keep it that way." Clara glanced at Ethan, frustration building in her chest. They had expected resistance, but they had hoped for some willingness to listen. It seemed that Earth's leaders were too, focused on their own pride to see the bigger picture. The rest of the meeting didn't go any better. Ethan and Clara tried again and again to explain the benefits of joining the Galactic Unity. But each time, their arguments were rejected. Earth's leaders insisted that they didn't need help and that they could handle any threat on their own. As the meeting ended, Ethan and Clara were escorted back to their ship. The doors closed behind them with a heavy thud, and they both sat in silence. Ethan stared out the window of the ship, watching as Earth's blue oceans and green continents slowly faded from view. "They don't trust us," Clara said, her voice tinged with frustration. "They don't even want to listen." Ethan nodded. It's worse than I thought. They're afraid, and that fear is stopping them from seeing the bigger picture. I don't think they realize how much danger they're in, Clara sighed. We've tried to explain everything, but they won't listen. I don't know what else we can do, Ethan thought for a moment. We have to find a way to make them understand. We can't give up on Earth. There's still hope. But deep down, both of them knew that things had gotten more complicated than they had ever imagined. Humanity was a proud species, and their refusal to even consider peace was only the beginning of a much larger problem. As the ships soared into the stars, Ethan and Clara knew that they would have to go back to the Galaxy Council and report their failure. They didn't know what the future held, but they were certain of one thing. Humanity's refusal to even consider diplomacy would have far-reaching consequences for both them and the galaxy as a whole. The mission was far from over. But for now, it felt like the first step in a long and difficult road. Ethan and Clara returned to the Galaxy Council's headquarters, feeling defeated. They had failed in their mission to convince Earth's leaders to join the galactic unity. Their discussions had been met with suspicion, and the humans had rejected every offer they made. The moment they landed, the council members gathered in a large, dimly lit room. The air was tense as Ethan and Clara prepared to give their report. Admiral Olivia Blake, seasoned veteran of the Unity's fleet, was the first to speak. She had heard the rumors about humanity's resistance, but hearing it from Ethan and Clara made it feel real. "Tell us what happened," she said, her voice calm but stern. Ethan stepped forward, feeling the weight of the failure on his shoulders. "We tried. We really did. But Earth's leaders refused to listen to us. They are determined to remain independent. They see the galactic unity as a threat, not an ally." President Hamilton and General Hudson were particularly stubborn. "They believe they can handle any conflict on their own," Clara added. "They don't trust us. We offered help, but they rejected every single offer. Their pride is too strong. They want to control their own destiny, even if it means facing dangers they don't understand." The council members exchanged worried looks. They had expected some resistance, but this level of defiance was beyond anything they had anticipated. Admiral Blake's face hardened as she leaned forward. "This is not good. Earth is too important to be left isolated. If they won't join us willingly, we may have to reconsider our options." Ambassador Laura Simmons, a diplomat who had worked on countless peace talks, raised a hand. "We can't force them into an alliance. That would only make things worse. We need to find another way. There must be a way to break through their fear and pride." Ethan nodded. "I agree, but I don't know how. They won't even consider negotiating. They see us as invaders, not friends. We've done everything we can." The room fell silent as the council members thought about their next move. Clara stared out of the window, looking at the stars. She couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment. They had come so close to bringing Earth into the fold, but now it felt like they were farther away than ever. "What if we try a different approach?" Ethan said suddenly. "What if we appeal to their leaders on a more personal level? Maybe if we show them that we're not just a group of alien beings trying to control them, they'll be more willing to listen." Laura raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting we speak directly to President Hamilton and General Hudson again?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, but this time, not as representatives of the galactic unity. We could speak to them as individuals. Show them that we understand their fears and concerns. Maybe if they see that we're not here to take over, they'll be more open to discussions." The council members exchanged uncertain glances. It was a risky plan, but they had few options left. Olivia Blake finally spoke. "It's a long shot, but it might be our best chance. We can't afford to lose Earth. We'll support you in this, but you'll need to be careful. The human leaders are distrustful, and any mistake could make things worse." Ethan and Clara both agreed. They would try again, but this time they would do things differently. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to give it one more shot. The following week, they returned to Earth, hoping that their new approach would work. This time they didn't land in a large, imposing ship. Instead, they came in a small, unarmed vessel. They didn't want to give the impression that they were bringing more military force. They just wanted to talk. President Hamilton and General Hudson were still on high alert. They had received word that the Galactic Unity representatives were returning, but they had no idea what to expect. The moment Ethan and Clara stepped off their ship, they were greeted by armed guards. The tension was thick. President Hamilton's expression was one of deep suspicion. "I don't know why you've come back," President Hamilton said, his voice sharp. "But I'll warn you now, we're not changing our stance. We won't join your unity." Clara took a deep breath. "We're not here to force you into anything. We just want to talk. We want to understand each other better. We're not enemies." President Hamilton's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe that? After everything that's happened?" "We know you're afraid," Ethan said, stepping forward. "But we're not your enemies. We just want to help. We understand that you want to keep control of your world, and we respect that. We're not here to take that away from you." General Hudson scoffed. "If you're not here to control us, then why are you so insistent on joining us with your unity? What's in it for you?" Clara replied, "It's not about what's in it for us. It's about the future. The galaxy is full of threats that you don't even know exist. You're not alone out here. And if something happens, you'll be vulnerable. We're offering you a chance to be part of something bigger, to share knowledge and resources that could help you survive." There was a long silence. Ethan and Clara could see the conflict in President Hamilton's eyes. He didn't trust them, but there was a part of him that couldn't completely ignore the truth in their words. He knew that Earth wasn't prepared for every danger the galaxy might throw at them. "You think we need you?" President Hamilton said slowly. "But we've survived on our own for centuries. We'll continue to do so." Ethan sighed. "We're not saying you can't survive. We're saying that joining the Galactic Unity would give you a better chance of thriving. Earth could be part of something greater, something that would protect you from dangers you can't yet understand." President Hamilton stood in silence for a moment. He was weighing his options, but his pride was still a barrier. He didn't want to admit that he needed anyone's help. "We'll think about it," he said finally, his tone still guarded. Ethan and Clara knew that it wasn't a victory, but it was a small step forward. They had planted a seed of doubt in the minds of Earth's leaders. Now all they could do was wait and hope that Earth would come to realize that their future depended on cooperation, not isolation. Days turned into weeks, and the situation on Earth remained tense. Ethan and Clara had done their best to plant the seeds of doubt in the minds of President Hamilton and General Hudson. But despite their efforts, Earth's leaders refused to change their stance. They remained proud and determined to face the future alone. The threat of alien interference was too great for them to ignore. The humans could not trust anyone, especially those they saw as powerful outsiders. Back in the Galaxy Council, the news was not good. The council members were growing impatient. Admiral Olivia Blake, who had been monitoring the situation, was the first to speak. "We can't keep waiting. Earth is becoming more and more isolated. If they continue to refuse our help, they will face terrible dangers." Ambassador Clara Simmons, who had been part of the early discussions, agreed. "We can't force them into an alliance, but we also can't ignore the reality. Earth is not ready to face the dangers that lie beyond their world. The galaxy is full of threats they cannot even imagine." Ethan and Clara knew that the situation was becoming urgent. The longer Earth refused to listen, the more dangerous things would become. The galaxy was full of powerful species, and many of them were not friendly. If Earth continued to reject the Galactic Unity, they would be alone when trouble came. Ethan was particularly troubled by the growing tensions. "I've been thinking about what we can do next," he said. "Maybe we can show them, not just tell them, the real dangers out there. If we bring them face to face with a real threat, they might finally see the need for cooperation." Clara nodded thoughtfully. "It's risky, but it might be the only way. If we could get them to witness a real danger, they might finally understand that we're not just trying to control them. We're trying to protect them." The two of them began to form a plan. They knew it would be dangerous, but they were running out of options. They couldn't keep waiting for Earth to change its mind. The council needed to act before it was too late. Ethan and Clara returned to Earth, hoping that their new strategy would work. They had a plan to demonstrate a real threat to the humans. It was a risky move, but they were desperate. The council had authorized them to do whatever it took to make Earth understand the gravity of the situation. As they arrived, they were met by the same cold reception. President Hamilton and General Hudson were still firmly against any kind of alliance. They refused to believe that the galactic unity had anything but selfish motives. They were still convinced that their independence was at risk. This time, Ethan and Clara didn't ask for a meeting with the two leaders. Instead, they decided to take a different approach. They would show Earth firsthand what they were up against. They reached out to President Hamilton with a simple message. We need to speak with you, face to face. This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. The message was simple, but it carried weight. President Hamilton agreed to meet, but only because he didn't want to risk angering the visitors. Ethan and Clara took President Hamilton and General Hudson to a remote location on Earth. Far from the bustling cities and military bases, the place was quiet, almost empty. With only a few scattered buildings and fields stretching out as far as the eye could see, they had brought Hamilton and Hudson here to witness something that would change their minds. As the two men stood beside Ethan and Clara, a strange noise filled the air. It started low, almost imperceptible at first, but it grew louder by the second. The ground began to shake, and the sky above darkened. From the distance, something moved at high speed toward them. It's here, Ethan said quietly, his voice tense. You need to see this. In the distance, a large ship appeared. It wasn't like anything Earth had ever seen. It was enormous, dark, and menacing. As it approached, it slowed, coming to a stop just above the ground. The ship was unlike anything Earth's military had, and it radiated power. Ethan and Clara didn't have to explain anything. They had brought the humans to this location to witness the threat that was approaching. The ship's engines hummed, and the air grew thick with tension. As the ship landed, a hatch opened and a figure stepped out. The figure was tall, with dark armor covering most of its body. It moved toward them with purpose, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. It was clearly not human, and it radiated an aura of hostility. The moment the figure approached, President Hamilton and General Hudson stepped back, their hands instinctively reaching for their weapons. This is one of the species we've been warning you about, Clara said quietly. The Reptus. They are a dangerous and aggressive race. They've attacked peaceful planets before, and they will stop at nothing to conquer and destroy. The Reptus soldier looked directly at the humans, and his eyes glowed brighter. He spoke in a language that neither Ethan nor Clara could understand. Then he turned and gestured to the ship behind him. Several more soldiers emerged from the ship, all armed and ready for battle. President Hamilton's face turned pale. He had heard stories of dangerous alien species, but seeing one up close was a different experience. He could feel the threat in the air, and for the first time, he understood what Ethan and Clara had been trying to tell him. General Hudson was the first to react. What do we do? He asked, his voice tight with fear. We don't have the firepower to fight them. Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady. This is why we've come. This is why you need the galactic unity. We can help you fight them. Alone, you will not survive. But together, we can protect Earth. The Reptus soldiers stood silently, watching the humans. They had not yet made any move to attack, but the tension in the air was palpable. It was clear that they were waiting for the humans to make the first move. President Hamilton, his face grim, looked at General Hudson. We've been foolish, he said softly. We thought we could handle everything on our own, but we were wrong. General Hudson nodded, his eyes focused on the Reptus soldiers. We need help, he said, and we need it now. Ethan and Clara exchanged a look. It was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. The humans were finally ready to listen. They had seen the threat with their own eyes. They knew they couldn't face it alone. The Reptus soldiers were still waiting, but now Earth had a choice to make. Would they accept help from the galactic unity, or would they continue to stand alone? The future of Earth hung in the balance. The situation on Earth was now at a breaking point. President Hamilton and General Hudson had seen the danger firsthand. The Reptus soldiers stood just a few meters away, and their menacing presence was enough to make even the bravest human hesitate. The choice was now clear: accept the help of the galactic unity, or face certain destruction. For a long moment, President Hamilton stared at the Reptus soldiers. The weight of the decision hung heavily in the air. General Hudson's hands were still clenched around his weapon. But even he knew that fighting the Reptos with Earth's current technology would be futile. They were outmatched. And the truth was undeniable. Hamilton turned to face Ethan and Clara. The anger in his eyes had faded, replaced by a look of grim realization. "What do you need us to do?" he asked quietly. His voice was steady, but the fear behind his words was clear. "We don't have much time." Clara stepped forward, her voice calm but urgent. "We need your military to stand down. The Reptas are here to test you, to see if you will resist. If we don't act quickly, they will attack, and Earth will be left defenseless. We need to show them that we are united, not just Earth and the galactic unity, but everyone who values peace." General Hudson hesitated, but then nodded. "We'll stand down, but we need your help. You said you could defend us, but we don't even know how. What are you asking of us?" Ethan glanced at Clara before answering. "We're going to form an alliance, but this isn't just about Earth's survival. It's about sending a message to the rest of the galaxy. If we stand together, we can defeat the Reptos and any other threats that come our way. But Earth must be part of this. Your military forces need to integrate with the Galactic Unity's technology. We can teach you how to defend your world, how to fight smarter, and how to use the weapons we've developed." Hamilton and Hudson exchanged a look, their eyes filled with uncertainty. They had always prided themselves on Earth's independence, on their ability to handle things without outside help. Now, they were being asked to give that up, to trust an alien force. It was not an easy decision. "How do we know you can actually defeat the Reptas?" Hamilton asked. "What makes you so sure that your technology will work against them?" Clara was quick to respond. "We have faced the Reptos before. We've fought them on other planets, and we've won. Their strength is in their numbers and their surprise attacks. But with our advanced defense systems, we can turn the tide. We can protect your world if you trust us." The Reptas soldiers continued to watch silently, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. They hadn't made any aggressive moves yet, but their presence was a constant threat. Every second they waited was a second closer to a potential attack. Hamilton's face softened. But the decision weighed heavily on him. He had always believed that humanity should stand on its own, but now, standing in the shadow of the Reptas soldiers, he realized that some battles couldn't be fought alone. Earth was small, vulnerable, and there were enemies out there that they couldn't hope to defeat without help. "All right," Hamilton said finally, his voice filled with resolve. "We'll work with you. But this is a partnership. We're not handing over control. Earth will remain sovereign," Ethan nodded. "We wouldn't have it any other way. This is about cooperation, not control. The galactic unity respects your sovereignty, and we will protect your right to govern yourselves. But together, we can defend your world." With the decision made, the next steps were clear. Earth's military, along with the Galactic Unity's forces, began to work together. Ethan and Clara began to share their technology with Earth's engineers, teaching them how to use advanced energy shields and weapons that could stand up to the Reptos. The humans were eager to learn, but they still struggled with the idea of relying on alien technology. It was a hard pill to swallow, but they had no choice. General Hudson, who had once been so opposed to the idea of the galactic unity, now found himself working side by side with their officers. At first, the collaboration was awkward. Earth's soldiers were used to their own systems and methods. The Unity's technology was vastly different from what they were familiar with. But as the days passed, they began to see the benefits of working together. The Unity's shields were stronger than anything Earth had developed, and their weapons were far more advanced. The humans quickly realized that they could not afford to be proud or stubborn anymore. Meanwhile, the Repta soldiers remained close by, watching with their glowing eyes. They made no move, but their presence was always felt. Ethan, Clara, Hamilton, and Hudson knew that they were running out of time. The Reptas would not wait forever. The final test came sooner than expected. One evening, as the humans and the Unity forces were finishing their training, the Reptas ship suddenly moved. The massive vessel rose from the ground and took off into the sky. It wasn't just leaving. It was preparing to attack. "This is it," Clara said, her voice calm but urgent. They're going to strike now. Ethan turned to Hamilton and Hudson. We've trained for this. It's time to defend your world. The humans quickly organized their forces, with General Hudson taking charge of the military. The Galactic Unity's fleet was already in orbit, ready to defend Earth. The two forces, now working as one, prepared to face the REPTUs. As the Reptus ship descended, firing its weapons, the humans and the Unity forces activated their new defenses. Energy shields flared to life around Earth's major cities, absorbing the impact of the Reptos weapons. The Earth's military responded with their newly upgraded weapons. Firing back at the enemy ship, the battle was intense, and the Reptiles were fierce. But the combined strength of the humans and the Unity forces proved to be too much. The Reptus ship was soon forced to retreat. It was a hard-fought victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. When the battle was over, the humans stood in awe of what they had accomplished. Earth had faced its first true test against a galaxy-threatening force, and they had survived. The partnership with the Galactic Unity had worked. Earth was no longer alone in the vast, dangerous galaxy. They had found allies in the stars. President Hamilton, his face tired but determined, looked at Ethan and Clara. You were right, he said quietly. We couldn't have done this without you, Ethan smiled. Together, we can face anything. The battle had been won, but the real work had only just begun. Earth was no longer isolated. The Galactic Unity had gained a powerful new ally, and together, they would be ready for whatever challenges the galaxy had in store. The victory against the Reptos had brought Earth and the Galactic Unity closer together. It had been a hard battle, but it had proven that cooperation between the two forces was possible. For President Hamilton and General Hudson, it was a turning point. They had seen firsthand that the threats beyond their world were real. They could no longer afford to remain isolated. As Earth recovered from the battle, the humans and the Unity forces worked side by side, strengthening their defenses and preparing for future challenges. Earth's military, once proud and independent, had now become part of something much larger. They had learned the value of cooperation, not just with each other, but with the many species that made up the Galactic Unity. The change in Earth's attitude was noticeable. No longer did the leaders act out of fear or pride. They had seen the power of unity and the strength that came from working together. But it wasn't just the military that had changed. The people of Earth, who had once feared the idea of joining the Galactic Unity, now saw the benefits. The scientists, engineers, and civilians began to realize that there was much to gain from being part of something greater than themselves. President Hamilton stood on the steps of the government building looking out over the city. The sky was clear, and the stars twinkled above, reminding him of how small Earth truly was in the vast universe. For so long he had resisted the idea of cooperation with the Galactic Unity, but now he understood. He wasn't just protecting Earth's future, but the future of all the people who lived on it. Clara and Ethan stood beside him, both of them quietly observing the scene. They had helped Earth understand the importance of unity, but they knew that the real work was just beginning. The Reptos were not the only threat out there. There were other species, some more dangerous than the Reptos, and they would need to be ready. We've come a long way, Hamilton said, breaking the silence. But there's still so much to do. Earth is now part of something much bigger. I never thought I'd say it, but I think we've made the right choice. Clara smiled. You've made the right choice. Together, we're stronger. We'll be ready for whatever comes next. Ethan nodded. You're not alone anymore. The Galactic Unity stands with you. We're all in this together. As Hamilton looked at the stars, he felt a sense of peace. He knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but at least now, Earth had allies in the galaxy. The future was uncertain, but he no longer felt alone in facing it. The next few months were a period of intense change. Earth began to integrate its technology with that of the Galactic Unity. The scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, learning from the Unity's advanced systems and sharing their own knowledge in return. It was a period of growth and learning, as both sides realized how much they had to offer each other. General Hudson, who had once been the most resistant to the idea of cooperation, now found himself fully invested in the new alliance. He worked closely with the Unity's military officers, training Earth's soldiers in the use of advanced weapons and defense systems. It was a partnership that he had never imagined, but one that he had come to value deeply: the people of Earth. Two were beginning to see the benefits of the alliance. The news of Earth's victory against the Reptos had spread across the planet, and there was a growing sense of pride. Earth had faced its first true test, and it had come through stronger than before. The citizens felt safer knowing that they were no longer alone, that they had powerful allies who would stand beside them in times of danger. But despite the growing unity, there were still challenges. Not everyone on Earth agreed with the new alliance. There were those who felt that Earth's sovereignty had been compromised, that by working with the Galactic Unity, they were giving up too much of their independence. There were protests in the streets with people demanding that Earth return to its isolationist ways. Hamilton and Hudson knew that they had to address these concerns. They couldn't force the people to accept the alliance, but they had to show them why it was important. They spent hours speaking to crowds, explaining the dangers that still existed in the galaxy and the need for cooperation. It was a difficult task, but they were determined to make the people understand. "We've seen the dangers firsthand," Hamilton said in one of his speeches. "We've seen what happens when we refuse to work together. The Reptus came to Earth, but there are others out there who are just as dangerous. If we stand alone, we will be vulnerable. But if we stand together with the Galactic Unity, we will be strong. This is not about giving up our independence. This is about protecting our future." Over time, the protests began to fade. People began to see the truth in Hamilton's words. The alliance with the Galactic Unity was not about losing Earth's independence, but about securing its future. The fears of those who opposed the alliance slowly diminished. More and more people came to support it. As Earth's integration with the Galactic Unity continued, Hamilton and Hudson received a message from the Council. The message was simple, but it carried great weight. The Galactic Unity wanted Earth to be part of something even bigger. A new coalition of planets and species dedicated to maintaining peace and security throughout the galaxy. This was the next step in Earth's journey. The Galactic Unity had shown them the way, and now Earth would become a leader in this new coalition. It was a role that Hamilton had never expected, but one that he had come to accept with pride. As the message was broadcast to the people of Earth, Hamilton stood before the cameras, a smile on his face. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for Earth. We are no longer isolated. We are no longer alone. We are part of something greater, and together we will shape the future of the galaxy." The crowd cheered, and for the first time in a long while, Hamilton felt a sense of hope. Earth's place in the universe had changed forever, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the years that followed, Earth continued to grow and thrive as part of the Galactic Unity. The partnership between Earth and the Unity became a model for other planets, proving that even the most stubborn species could learn to cooperate for the greater good. And as Hamilton looked up at the stars, he knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there were many more challenges ahead. But Earth was no longer afraid. They had allies, and together they would face whatever came their way.